Good morning. It is 6:42 a.m. on Monday, March 20th, 2017. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. So, how you doing? Um, I'm just suddenly blanking because I feel like I had something to talk about and now gone. Hmm. Uh, I know part of what I was thinking about while walking Luna this morning. Luna's wound up by a noise in the hallway. Is just making plans for upcoming story bits in so many levels, which has continued to be a very fun experience trying to decide different challenges and such to throw at the players and see what those characters might do in that situation. And it's exciting, you know. Storytelling is something I enjoy generally, but I've said it before, but D&D really combines this element of storytelling with the unpredictable nature of improv, and it's just it's a joy. So one of the dynamics, though, when trying to plan an adventure is trying to decide whether a problem should have a solution, like like a riddle would, or whether I should just create problems and see what the players come up with. Because I think it can go both ways. This is a tightrope to walk. Because I think what can happen is that if you come up with something more like a riddle, where there's a confusing problem with one defined correct answer, you could end up in a situation where the players take a really long time and don't arrive at that correct answer, and then they feel like they failed. Or you, best case scenario in that situation is either like coming up with the right answer is kind of almost second best. Best case scenario would actually be that they come up with something you didn't expect that is somehow even better than what you predicted. But what can also what you don't want to have happen though is like if they just don't come up with that right answer or it takes a long time, they can get frustrated and it could stop being fun. So another alternative, especially that's a little easier on the dungeon master generally, is to come up with a scenario where it's a complicated problem that doesn't necessarily have an obvious answer. And so in that situation, you just kind of play it out and see what happens. But the risk there is that you can have, that it can be mistaken for the first kind of thing. If there's no defined problem, then you're not offering clues towards a defined solution. And therefore, players might feel like there's supposed to be something that's obvious and that they're missing. I don't know. So I guess part of what I'm thinking, without spoiling what's coming up, is the idea of having the players encounter something that at first glance at least seems way above their pay grade. And the idea of, like, if something doesn't come across as plausibly dangerous given how it's depicted, then the verisimilitude of the world breaks down. But on the other hand, if it really is that dangerous and there's not a rescue plan, so to speak, it could easily end up in a situation where it just kills the whole party and then the story's over. And I don't think that's the goal. Um, so it's a matter of trying to walk that balance of giving something a bit more epic, but having a variety of ways that it could go in mind. And then just kind of see what happens. And I suppose, to an extent, when we want to talk about not violating the verisimilitude of the game world, at a certain point, depending on the actions of the characters, it might be that a total party kill is warranted. I mean, I certainly wouldn't be shooting for that, but at the same time, it's one of those things. It's an interesting question because it 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 goes back to what's the goal of playing the game, right? You could potentially, at the cost of certain storylines, end up making the whole game not feel real. Because part of what I think is supposed to be fun is the idea that your decisions matter. And if it kind of becomes obvious that they don't, then what fun is that? Anyway, um, plans within plans. So, I've got to get ready for work, but I'll talk to you tomorrow for 5 more minutes.